Okay, today we're going to compare the Sven saw 15-inch to the Silky Gomboy 300 millimeter. These are very dissimilar saws, but I think that they're worth comparing as far as something you might be packing in the woods or on your canoe or in your vehicle, as far as an emergency saw or a camping saw or a trail clearing saw, etc., etc. The reason I think that these are worth comparing is that they're about the same weight. They're both right around 11 ounces. This is just slightly less and this is just slightly more than 11 ounces. And then the Sven is surprisingly large to pack, even though it's a lightweight saw. The Sven, all folded up, is, 17 and about a half an inch. It's, well, maybe just a little less than 17 and a half inches all packed up. The Silky Gomboy 300, look at that, we've got 13 inches. The Gomboy is a little bit wider. It's about a half an inch wider, as you can see here. If I stack the Sven on top of the Gomboy, and what I mean by width is the distance between the back of the handle and the edge of the spine. Open length and the open length of the Sven saw, this is where they're totally dissimilar. This is a folding saw, and it's about 24 inches all opened up. And the Sven saw takes a little bit of work to put together here, but let's just do that real quick. It's not difficult. It can be a little tedious. See that? If I can show that nicely on camera here, I can't see my viewfinder, so you'll have to bear with me if I get out of frame. The blade hides nicely inside this, and that's what actually makes this such a nice pack saw, is that you don't have those teeth out getting into your gear and tearing things up, and I think that that's why some people prefer a folding saw. Anyway, let's continue on here and put this together real quick, provided I'm, capable. Gee whiz. Let's see. Oh, there we go. I had it backwards. It isn't altogether difficult at all to put this together. You do need just a little bit of play up here before you get... There we go. And then we make sure it's together, and then we spin on the wing nut. And there you go. Nice solid... Oh, I didn't quite get it. See, you have to be careful of this, especially when you're in a hurry and on camera. If I'd have been out in the woods, I don't think we'd have had that problem. Trying to be cool for the camera, There we go. It has to, this part has to make it all the way through there before you tighten this down. It's not as difficult as I just made it seem by getting it wrong. I don't want you to think that that's tough at all. There we go, it's all put together. The Sven saw, if we look at the cutting surface on the Sven saw, you've got 13 inches of teeth. The Silky Gomboy, you've got 12 inches of teeth. What I will say here though, and I've said this in a previous video, what happens with this saw is, as you get further into a piece of wood, your stroke shortens up. So this 15-inch version, it's only appropriate for 4 to 5 inch logs, because as you get deeper, the stroke shortens up. So as soon as you're 1.5 inches in, you've lost a couple inches on that side of the blade. And once you're 3 or so inches in, you've lost half your blade almost. Once you're 4 to 5 inches in, you've only got a couple inches of blade left to work with. You can work your way around a log. I'm not saying that there's, you're not going to be able to accomplish something larger, but honestly, you lose stroke. With every stroke, you lose distance the deeper you get into any piece of wood with the Sven saw. And they do make a bigger Sven saw, the 21 inch. And in fact, in my big saw video, I quoted its weight for this one's. I got that wrong. I should go back and annotate that. But this one's about 11 ounces. The 21 inch version is about 15 ounces. But in any case, you know, as far as packability, I think that these are pretty comparable. The other saw that I think is comparable is the Silky BigBoy. This thing is 16 inches long, all folded up. It is quite a bit wider. Its widest point is almost 3 inches. So, in fact, it looks to be almost exactly 3 inches. The widest spot on here is about 3 inches, so it's wider to pack. This weighs about 14.5 ounces, so it's 3.5 ounces heavier than the Sven saw, but it has a bigger blade. You've got 14.5 inches of blade with right about 13 9/10 of an inch of actual cutting surface. Great big nasty teeth, which the Sven saw also, you know, I mean, these are, you know, some of these are M cut, some of these are U cut, and this is a traditional kind of a bow saw blade. Excellent steel. This is some Sandvik steel from Sweden, and you know, also nice deep teeth, able to shed debris, and it's a good cutter. What I really like about the Sven saw is that this is a tension blade like a bow saw. You can hand this to somebody who's never used a hand tool in their life, and they will not damage this saw. It's extremely durable. What I don't like about it is how long it is folded up. It's really hard to find a good place in your pack. It's just awfully long compared to, you know, this could be a very similar cutter. And we were just talking about getting through material. We don't have anything to come up against here, so anything that's, you know, along that almost a foot of blade, yeah, you've got all of that distance. You know, nothing stopping you from cutting through. You know, so that's about what I have to say about that. I prefer the Gomboy. I prefer a folding saw. There's, you know, it's simpler. There it is. It's ready to go in the pack. You know, there's no taking it apart, putting it together. There's nothing stopping you, you know, from having a full stroke. So again, I prefer that. I also prefer this style of tooth. This is a pull stroke cut saw where, of course, you know, with these M and U and V cut teeth, it cuts in either direction. We'll go out in the shop and cut a couple of pieces of wood with these, and we'll throw in the Silky BigBoy for good measure, just so you know, have some good comparison. This is shorter to pack, wider, a little bit heavier, and, you know, also in this same, you know, kind of category as far as how much space and weight that you're going to be carrying with you if you take one of these. Though this is a little bit heavier. You know, for you through hikers, that could be a pretty serious consideration. That you know, a couple ounces is a big deal to some people. Where, you know, these are within a couple tenths of an ounce of one another. So, you know, some of you guys, some of you ultralight guys, definitely consider a couple of tenths of an ounce. But I think the benefit to this one will outweigh, you know, that couple tenths of an ounce. You might save that somewhere else. So let's go out in the shop and do some cutting with these, and then I don't think I'm going to put a conclusion on this. We'll just do some cutting, and I might have something to say while I'm cutting. and then we'll just end this video, because this is 100% opinion. We're not getting too deep into the specifications and details. This is all just my opinion, and I'd like to show you how they work, and maybe that'll help you make a good decision if you decide to buy something like this. Oh, real quick, these sell for about 36 bucks most of the time. You can find them a couple bucks cheaper. I see them a couple bucks more than that sometimes. This Silky Gomboy 300, the best price I've seen recently, I don't think is indicative of its price all the time. I've seen these on Amazon recently for $30. Same thing for the Silky BigBoy. I found these on Amazon for around 40 bucks lately. So, you know, 36 bucks for the Sven, sometimes 32, versus about 40 bucks for this. Yeah, if you find this on sale, that may be also something to give some serious consideration to. And then this one being, you know, if you find this at 30 bucks like I did, that's even cheaper than the lowest price I think I've seen on this 15-inch Sven. So the price could be a consideration. Okay, so let's take these out in the shop and do some cutting, and then we'll just end on the cutting. If you don't want to watch that, that's just fine. I'm pretty bored to tears watching somebody cut stuff with a saw. But you may be interested in seeing the performance differences and similarities, so I'm going to provide that. We'll go out in the shop right now. Okay, let's find out for sure. This is a piece of cottonwood. We're going to get on the other side of this knot. 3 1/4 inches looks like. Let's get on the other side of this knot, so I'm keeping things nice and fair for all the saws. Strokes. Here's the big boy. 7 strokes. Let's go with the Gomboy 300. Eight strokes. Now, I may have given it a little more pressure than I normally would. Let's cut that again. These Silky saws, when you put a little pressure down on them just on the back stroke, this is something I kind of picked up from, you know, Survival Russia. I was doing it anyway, but that guy made a point of talking about it in one of his videos, how he likes to put a little extra pressure on the pull stroke because it's only cutting on the pull stroke to speed things up. And I think I was focusing on that a little bit more than I normally would. So let's make sure we're giving it a fair cut. Ten strokes. So yeah, maybe. You know, maybe I was being a little aggressive and putting more calories in than I really needed to try to show off a little bit there. So there we have it. Let's move on to some cherry and choke cherry. Let me reset here and we'll move on. Okay, what we're working with here is very likely to end up being about a 3-inch piece of cherry. What's facing you there on the camera is quite a bit bigger than that, but we're going to move up the branch in this case. There's a giant knot here that I don't want involved in our testing. So we're going to get beyond this knot, and this will probably be, I don't know, 3.5 inches when we get here. About 32 strokes, and let's measure that real quick to make sure I was telling you the truth. 3 1/4 inches. Yep, 3 1/4 inches. So I was pretty much telling you the truth. All right, let's put the Silky BigBoy on that. It's also a knot right here, but you know what? I don't care. I think I'll just blow right through this. If that knot extends to where I'm cutting, I think the Silky will do it anyway. So let's see how we do. And a half, 21 and a half, almost 22 strokes. That's a pretty big difference. Let's see how the Gomboy 300 does. .25 and just a little bit of a stroke. Pretty big performance difference across the board here. You know, this cherry wood cuts pretty good with that big boy having a longer blade, and boy, that's just such a smooth cut too. This 300 large tooth, this leaves a cut like a fine tooth saw. That is just smooth. There isn't a snag or a sliver to be found. It's just absolutely smooth. Really impressive. And the BigBoy is the same way. Let's see if I can. All right. This was the end of the log. This was our cut with the. Hopefully that's focusing for you. Right down here you'll see some rough, and up here you'll see some rough. That was the cut with the Sven saw. It does okay, you know. I mean, that's still a very nice cut. I'm not saying it's not. And let's see. We cut above the curve a little bit. I was complaining about this knot right here. This is the BigBoy, and just glassy smooth. Wait a minute, I've got it backwards. This is the other side of the Sven saw cut. This is the glassy end. Let me get behind my viewfinder and see what you see, because I may not even be getting this in the shot. Kind of hard to focus on this, isn't it? There, I think you can see how rough that is. If not, maybe you can hear it. There, it focuses pretty good. Put a little dark from my dirty gloves on there. And that leaves, oh, there it is. There's our other piece of cherry right here. Both sides just smooth as can be. I don't know if that's focusing well enough for you or not, but let's darken this up a little bit with my dirty gloves. Just smooth as can be. Just really impressive for such huge teeth on those saws. Okay, we're going to move on. I'm going to reset this to some, to a really quite a nice piece of juniper. Hopefully it fits in my vise here. We'll be heading somewhere else because it's pretty big. It's at least 5 inches. Let's do that. Okay, I think we'll cut into this with the Sven, but not through it. My table's a little bit high. This is putting it up about chest level to me. This is a 5 3/4 inch piece of cedar, of juniper. The saw, you see, we will run out of stroke long before. You can't even hang this on here. Normally that would be how I would test to see if I was going to cut through something with the Sven, is to see if it'll hang on the end of the what I'm trying to cut, if it's available, you know. And you see there, that's another good way of describing how this thing shortens your stroke. But in any case, this one won't even hang on here. So I'm going to cut a little ways into it. We'll see how far we get before I get tired of it. I am starting to feel a little fatigue in between some of these videos. I've used some other saws for another video I'm working on, and I don't know if I'm willing to put the calories into this or not, because we know we're not going to make it through in one cut. We could work our way around and, you know, maybe take a cut from the bottom. And it's not like we can't cut this with this tool, but we aren't getting through it in one shot. So I'm not gung-ho to do it. Just the truth. But let's take a cut into this, see how it does in juniper. And juniper is challenging material. You know, cedar has different, you know, it's varying hardness. The outside softer than the center, and there are all kinds of hidden little knots in a juniper. There's everywhere a tiny little branch came out that taps all the way to the center of these trees. That's what makes them so pretty inside. So yeah, I mean, that's just how they are. But challenging material for any saw, because they aren't consistent. Juniper just doesn't have a consistent hardness through it, and the hardness of it surprises people. Everybody generally thinks, oh, that looks like a pine tree, it ought to cut like a pine tree. Well, no. Generally speaking, they're often a whole lot harder than pine, especially when they're getting pretty cured. This particular tree was uprooted by a bulldozer guy doing some fence just about a year ago, and it was still connected to its root ball until just a little over a week ago when I cut this free of all that debris. So this is, it's about cured. It's been laying but still attached to its root ball. It's been laying on the ground for about a year. And so it sat all last summer, it sat through the winter. It wasn't laying right in the dirt, but it was kind of crossing a ditch-like area where I had a trail. This was blocking my trail, and so I cut this out of there. But again, it's been uprooted for about a year, but still connected to its root ball, so it didn't, you know, we're awfully close to perfectly cured, but not quite there. The bark is still pretty well attached and soaks up water when it's out in the rain, and you know, it's not completely dried out yet, but it's about there. This is pretty well cured, but not quite perfectly cured. Another month it would have been perfect. Here we go. See how short my stroke is getting? We aren't cutting very much material with about a 2 or 3 inch stroke now. You know, we could get another angle on it. But we run out of stroke there. Let me get down under it a little bit. Should have worn eye protection, I guess. Oh, I'm coming loose from how I've got it secured here. There. We made it. Holy cow, what a lot of work. And I didn't cut that perfectly flush, but, you know, I'm going to go get that piece. We'll show it to you. Yeah, pretty challenging material, but boy, it sure smells nice in here now. Yeah, pretty big piece of wood, challenging material. I think we only got into this one little piece of knot here. You know, it's pretty rough. Saw cut it pretty rough, but then again, you know, I didn't keep my blade as straight as I should have. I was concerned about making it through this rather than keeping it pretty, so some of that's on me. But sure smells nice. All right, let's put the big boy on this. I think that was less than 30 strokes. Look how nice and smooth. Boy, there's just hardly a rough spot right at the very beginning where I started my cut. But after that, just smooth. It's incredible to me, with all those great big teeth, can take a nice smooth cut like that. Just amazing. Here, that's how it was right there. Just a pretty cut. Smells wonderful. I like cutting juniper. Let's cut a stove length size now with the 300. About stove length. Hopefully that doesn't get me too close to the table here. Oops. Wow. Well, I expected that to come loose in a couple of strokes sooner than it did. I was in a knot here, and a little knot there, and a little knot there. Right in the center, you can see. So, but that's what's challenging about juniper. That's why we picked it. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Smells so nice. Let's put the little ruler on that. See what we're cutting exactly. Ooh, a little over 5.5 right there. So that was a 5.5 inch piece. I'm going to readjust this a little bit. We may as well cut the rest of it up into stove length. May as well do it while we're here. I'm getting a little tuckered out. The only thing I've got left is a couple little pieces of choke cherry there. Maybe we'll get to them, maybe we won't. But let me reset and we'll finish cutting this one up. Okay, we're back to cutting up this juniper. Just a couple more cuts. I think we'll use Gomboy 300 and the Silky BigBoy. Maybe I'll throw the 270 into a cut. We'll see. I do have a Gomboy 270 sitting here. But I think I'm done cutting with the Sven saw. That's just an awful lot of work, and I am getting tuckered. So let's see how we do. Six strokes and 5.5 inches. 5.5 inches. Let's see. That's a Gomboy 210. There's the 240, 270. Let's just continue on with the 300. No need to put too much wear and tear on my carry saw. 270, just for your interest, is just 1.5 inches shorter than this one. Same tooth configuration, so very similar. 28-ish strokes. I slipped out of the kerf once, so kind of lost track. Little less than 5.5 inches at the widest spot here. Just a little less. Which is weird because I think we're headed toward the butt. Yeah, this butt is 6.25 inches, so I don't know, narrow spot in the wood, I guess. Normally I would have shut the camera off to reset this, but we're just going to do one more piece and then that's it, and we're done. Thanks for your patience there. What do you want to see? The Gomboy or the Big Boy again? Yeah, let's just do the Big Boy again. Get it done as quick as we can, and that'll be it for today. Seven, I think that was. And how are we doing here? 5 and not quite 3/4 of an inch. 5.5 inch on the narrow way. 5 and not 3/4, not quite 3/4 of an inch. So, yeah, you know, if you're wondering if your saw can handle some 6-inch logs, that was pretty darn close to a 6-inch log. Hopefully that's focusing for you. See the pretty design in the cedar. Nice smooth, just smooth cut. Yep, very nice. In my opinion and estimation, while the 21-inch version of the Sven might be a little more worthwhile, yeah, this thing's awfully long when it's packed up. You know, it could be heavier, but it could be lighter. You can't break this. There's no breaking this. You can hand this to somebody who's never used a hand tool in their life, and they aren't going to break it. So for durability, yeah, you betcha. You betcha. That's a heck of a saw, and they are very popular. When you compare it to a 300mm Gomboy or the 360mm Big Boy, well, the proof's in the pudding. You just saw how much effort I put into each one of those. Yep, I think either one of these, at least at current pricing, you know, when they're 80, 90 bucks, that's a different story. But currently on Amazon, I'm seeing, you know, this one for around 30 and this one for around 40. So for that kind of price tag, when this one falls right between them, yeah, I think you should just learn how to use a pull cut saw. And you didn't get my best demonstration of it. You know, my technique should have been a little bit better than it was today, but I won't make any excuses. I already did. I said the table's too high, and you know, etc. But honestly, it's my own laziness in playing to the camera. My technique suffered from playing to the camera, trying to show off. Yeah, well, there you have it. There's my opinion. You saw them cut. I think you should buy one of these instead of this, but there are good reasons to own this. Okay, that's it. Thank you for listening to me for all this time. I hope the rest of your day goes really well.